Can we win games of Legacy without any of those fancy Lord of the Rings cards? Let's try. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today we're going to see if we can play some Magic without, Orcish Bowmasters, the One Ring, 4th Eolingas, or a lot of the other cards that are very much changing the landscape of Legacy. And just before we get started here, oh, look at that. I have a wonderful new Thraben University sign for the wall that I'm very excited about. Thank you to the person who made that. You know who you are. They have asked to remain anonymous, but if you want to show them some love down in the comments below, I'm sure they would love to see that. Our deck of the day is going to be Legacy Lands, which, as you might imagine, is going to play a lot of lands and Life from the Loam to put them into play. And this is a deck that oftentimes does not get drastically impacted by new printings, as a lot of the, broken lands that are in the deck are older, although we are going to slot in some new ones. The primary way the deck is going to attempt to just actually physically win the game is by copying Dark Depths with a Thespian stage to make a 20/20 creature, and usually 20 damage is enough to kill an opponent in Legacy, although some random life gain from things like Uro or Swords to Plowshares sometimes complicates things a little bit. Now, while Marit Lage is the fastest way to go and get a kill, Urza Saga might actually just be the easiest. Playing an Urza Saga, making a construct, searching up something like an expedition map to get you another Urza Saga to make some constructs, cast a Life from the Loam, get the Urza Saga back from your graveyard. Loops like that are often something that will bury a fair control deck. And while most new cards are probably not going to have an impact on this deck, Wrenn and Realmbreaker is something that has seen a little bit of play in this deck list. And this card maybe doesn't look that strong at first glance, so you maybe need to understand something about the mana base of this deck list to realize why this is so good. A lands deck is probably going to run something like 23 lands that don't actually produce green mana, okay? So you're going to be running somewhere in the ballpark of 35 lands. It varies a little bit. But cards like this and Yavimaya help you to actually have appropriate colors of mana. So that first ability there is not flavor text. You might think of this as traditionally a, red-green based deck list with most of the cards being green. But in reality, it's closer to a base colorless deck, mathematically speaking, in terms of the mana base. And the -2 ability is kind of neat as well, because this deck does have some very strong non-land permanents that you can hit with it. I know a lot of times when you think land, you think Life from the Loam, Dredge, get back your important lands, but exploration is oftentimes one of the things that really makes this deck pop off and allows them to take advantage of Life from the Loam as much as possible. So let's go ahead and look at the deck list here. Now, today's video is sponsored by both Cool Stuff Inc. and moxfield.com. Remember, if you end up needing any paper Magic cards, use promo code ThrabenU at checkout at Cool Stuff Inc. to save 5% on your order. Now, this is the original deck list that Matthew H. sent me, which was from I believe, a Legacy Challenge about 2 months ago with a pretty stock build of punishing lands. And the same pilot actually had another recent result, so we're going to go ahead and play their updated version of the deck list. But Phil, it's so hard for me to tell quickly at a glance how these deck lists are different. Don't worry, my sponsor Moxfield has you covered on this one. So what I'm doing here is Moxfield's Compare feature. And if we take a look at the deck lists, you can see that there's 5 unique cards between these deck lists. The one from about 2 months ago played a Sylvan Library, Gamble, Mana Bond, 1 additional Punishing Fire, and a Fetch Land, which has shifted to Yavimaya, 2 Endurances, the Wrenn and Realmbreaker, and Soul Guide Lantern. Otherwise, the core of the deck list is the same, and even the sideboards are very similar. Note that the endurances that used to be in the sideboard were bumped into the main deck in this newer version, making room for a few more flexible and generic cards. So again, here's the deck list that we're going to be playing in all of its glory. Notice here that I have 23 different lands that don't actually produce green mana. So our Mox Diamonds, our Yavimaya Cradle of Growths, and to a lesser extent our Wrenn and Realm Breakers are going to kind of help and fix for some colored mana at certain stages of the game. Highlighting some other cards that you might not be used to in the deck, Minsc Boo Timeless Heroes is a great way to quickly turn the corner on the game that your opponent might not be expecting. And Haywire Might is really neat as an Urza Saga target because specifically this can exile an artifact, which is really important against the One Ring right now. I guess the final thing that I want to say about this deck list here is that there are real deck building choices that happen when you're playing lands, and Sphere of Resistance is something that oftentimes makes it into the deck list if you are expecting a bit more combo, but Legacy is relatively fair right now with a lot of Orcish Bowmasters nonsense taking over the format. All right, today's games are probably going to be tough. I personally consider lands to be one of the toughest decks, if not the toughest deck to pilot optimally in Legacy. So let's battle and see how it goes. Alrighty, my hand here is going to be a keep, I think. We've got protection from Wasteland for the entire game here, and we have an Urza Saga that I can start ticking up in the not too distant future. I don't think what land to play is actually really interesting. So if I play this, I could get stifled. Misty Rainforest Pass just is making me wary of playing that land. I think I'm just going to play out the Boseiju here rather than exposing this slightly more valuable land to Wasteland. It slows down my optimal Goldfish if I were to draw a Thespian stage. All right, Tundra. So I might not need to name a Wasteland anymore. I will probably just name a generically good card that is in blue-white. It's pretty likely that this is a hit, but I don't know whether or not my opponent is going to be, a Miracles deck, a Stoneblade deck, a Cephalid Breakfast deck. I just don't know yet. And this is going to be a hit in most cases. And we are going to be on a slow game plan of just activate Urza Saga a bunch of times. I do have to be cognizant of playing Yavimaya. Fuck me. I do have to be cognizant of playing Yavimaya because it could give my opponent green. That probably doesn't do a lot. Like, I'll play it to hold it up, but not expecting that to be great. All right, we are playing against Greed Pile. I think at this point, I will just play one of these out for the future. It's sort of unfortunate that I do not have access to my own Wastelands as of right now, because hitting any one of those lands knocks my opponent off of a color. They probably have one life from the Loam in their main deck, which staples together this mana base. And they found it. Alright. That is very annoying for me. There's literally a turn too late. They have a Misty Rainforest in their hand, so I can't Wasteland them off of replaying Loam. That's very frustrating. Alright, so there's replaying the Misty. And they're going to do the whole brainstorm and fetch thing. We'll see whether or not they end up actually going to Wasteland me. They might not to play around crop rotation. We are getting the fetch to clear. And we're going to stare at each other. I think I need to go ahead and cycle this to draw a card. Not what I'm looking for. Endurance is. Endurance is definitely what I'm looking for. That's my out to the life from the Loam. A little annoying here if my opponent happens to Wasteland this Yavimaya at end of turn, but I don't think they have a strong reason to do that. So since they didn't cast Life from the Loam, I don't really play Endurance here. I will remove an Ice counter from my Dark Depths. It's not going to be relevant, but I can do this while still leaving up crop rotation. All right. I'll let that happen. There's Thespian's stage. But I think I'm much more interested in using endurance here. I think I'm just going to play Taiga and pass. I think I'm going to try to get them to cast the life from the Loam. And I think I endurance in response to that. Because in theory, that mana base cannot really afford very many Wastelands. Didn't even target their Misty Rainforests. May or may not be a mistake, depending on what else is going on over there. Grab the basic. And cast an Endurance. Which honestly might just eat a Force of Will. Is a Dress down. Will have a similar effect. It just stops my ability, and then my opponent can successfully Wasteland me. That's annoying, but not unexpected. Alright, they are going to opt for my Taiga. And this is all extremely annoying for me. I get to hit in for some damage, but I can't accumulate land drops due to Urza Saga. I can play Thespian stage and just go for it. Feels pretty bad to do so, but I only have one more endurance in the deck. So I'm probably just going for it. I'll wait until end of turn. At the very least, I might even wait longer than that. If I get punished by them just naturally having more Wastelands. Okay, in their 4 or maybe more color deck, they do just have a bunch of Wastelands. But my hand becomes forced, and I probably gain 20 life. Keep the one with no ice counters. I do have Teferi Pithing Needled. That's the good news here. I do gain 20 life. Yeah, so this game is going to be absolutely miserable, and I've probably already lost, but it takes another 10 minutes for me to actually lose. Sure. Yeah, but like the life from the Loam is just brutal in that it means that I can't like wasteland my opponent off of white and then go for a spot where they just don't have the white available. That's just not viable to do. I guess I will lock my opponent into wastelanding me every turn. Make it harder for them to put an actual win condition in play. But this is brutal. At some point I can maybe do something cool with the crop rotation, but for now I'm just kind of stuck in a loop. I think I am comfortable conceding here. Like, this game is over. It takes so long for me to lose that I would rather just move to the next game. Like, with a single basic forest as the only thing that I can truly sit on until we get to, like, Mox Diamonds, I don't think I wanted to do that. I lost that game because I did not Pithing Needle Wasteland after seeing Tundra. And I do believe that Teferi was still the correct name there. Just like my opponent had Wasteland in their deck and then also found a life from Loam. C'est la vie. We will play another Endurance. I will play Minsc Boo as a pivot win condition here. I don't know that I want to go this deep. I'll think about it. Punishing Fire, probably not at its best versus what my opponent is doing over there. Probably okay to go down like one Maze of Ith. I don't think I want to Pyroblast. I am not a lands pilot though, so don't take my sideboarding here as gospel. There are some random like land hoser enchantments, but I don't think my opponent can play either Back to Basics or Blood Moon with their mana base. And I don't think I go so deep as to play Surgical Extraction. Like, I have 3 Endurances plus Soul Guide Lantern plus the Pithing Needle that I now know like what to appropriately name with it. This has no initial colored mana, automatic mulligan. This is actively good. I will keep this. Grove is a lot less good without the Punishing Fires in the deck. Am I fine if my opponent uses Prismatic Ending on Expedition Map? I believe the answer is yes, given that I do have Life from the Loam here. So I'll go ahead and throw that in play. Alright, no Prismatic Ending. Could Expedition Map search now? I think doing that and gaining access to Urza's Saga is probably where I want to be. Oh, we have a basic land in the mana base as well. Alright, so let's search with this. I will grab Saga, that way I can represent a threat, even if Life from the Loam gets countered. Crop rotation is super cool. I am just going to do this like this and hold up crop rotation rather than get as greedy as possible. But I haven't given my opponent a good counterspell target yet. Yep, see? And now I have crop rotation to defend Urza Saga should my opponent have a Wasteland. What did they pitch to that? Force of Will, sure. Alright. Uro is fine. Like it's an annoying card, but I have plenty of ways to deal with an Uro. My opponent already, in theory, has access to blue, blue, green, green. I don't need to sweat it too much playing out Yavimaya. Does let them fetch like a Tundra. But I want to be able to activate Urza Saga while also holding up other things, namely crop rotation. Okay, cantrip time. 3 cards in graveyard, so we're not to Uro yet. So this will be 4 after fetch, 5 cards in graveyard outside of the Uro. My opponent does have dress downs that can invalidate these Urza Sagas, so that's something to keep in mind. Life from the Loam is great here. Let's go ahead and activate. Make a construct. I still get the search even if this is no longer on the battlefield. Let's go ahead and crop rotation, sacrificing that Urza Saga that I'm about to lose anyway. Spell Pierce occurs. Oh, we got something else coming. You're just going to dress down my tokens. Mystic Sanctuary, put Brainstorm on top. That's fine. I have some really tough choices this turn. I'm just going to play this in the way that removes Uro from the equation. I have some other ways that I can play this turn where I get a Mox Diamond, discard one of the redundant copies of these legendary lands, and then I get to cast Life from the Loam this turn. But those lines let my opponent do cool things with Uro, and I would not like them to do those things. Sure. This represents white mana. More afraid of dress down than anything else right now, I think. Sure. Guess a meltdown would be annoying too. Yeah, that's annoying. I can hopefully find a Caracas to deal with that in short order. Okay. Anything that gives me another artifact would be a cool draw. Wasteland a little slow currently. If I attack the Minsc Boo, I can knock down its loyalty, but it's not the best for me. Leaving Minsc Boo at 1 loyalty when I don't have Punishing Fire in the deck is super awkward. I think I'm going to cycle this, because my situation is short-term not great. Well, that helps a bit. I will play this. This is land drop 1. I will take out my opponent's white mana. And then I attempt to draw 3 cards. Force of Will, pitching Force of Will. So now my second land drop doesn't do me any good. I am a Caracas away from being in a really good position. We'll see what my opponent does here with this turn cycle. They can Minsc Boo and throw the token, draw a card, then answer the other construct somehow. Can plus the token and just go aggro. They have another way to defend Minsc Boo. Okay, they are plussing on the token. And they are just going ahead and getting in there. I'll go ahead and take that damage. With an artifact, I can kill Minsc Boo in combat, or at least have the possibility of doing so. It is a new Minsc Boo. Now they're just going to throw the hamster. This results in Minsc Boo dying. Don't know that I like this line. I guess it gives them a lot of looks for... Oh wow, that went to my face instead of a construct. Sure. Guess it gives them a lot of looks for Force of Negation is what I was going to finish saying there. Alright, I'm going to send both of these at Minsc Boo, just guarantee that that thing dies. I don't want to get blown out by Swords to Plowshares. And I'll Life from the Loam, target stage, Wasteland, Saga. I'm playing around a Spell Pierce already. I think I will Saga and stage here. I don't know, taking my opponent off of red so that a random meltdown can't kill these tokens is nice. Yeah, less likely that they can Minsc and Boo me. But going for an end of turn Marit Lage is really nice because it's something that is very likely to gain me 20 life. And gaining 20 life means that I just don't get punked as easily. I also think my opponent is probably playing too slowly. Like, if I'm pulling ahead this game and they don't think they can win, concession to leave time for the next game is probably important. Like, we may get to the point where me conceding the previous game is relevant for timeout reasons. Alright. I assume that's getting white mana. Okay. It's 4 damage, right? 4 damage, so that's not going to kill me. That puts them to 19. Get a bunch of mana. Fairy's fine. Sure. This means Prismatic Ending can hit my stuff, which I'm not the biggest fan of. I'm thinking about Thespian staging Urza Saga rather than going for it. I think I'm going to do that. I meant to do that in end step, but I sure didn't. I will dredge another Thespian stage, which is cool. So let's start with a Wasteland on the active Tundra. I'll pass priority here. Okay. So I can attack Teferi with 2 3/3s. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think instead I will just go ahead and cast a Life from the Loam. And I think I will continue to bully white sources here. So the scary thing for me is Dress Down killing a bunch of construct tokens and allowing this Omnath to just hit me. Like, I can grind through this Omnath relatively quickly if it doesn't just kill me somehow. Yeah. Now my opponent gets to dig. They might be in the position where they physically do not have enough time on their clock to win another game. Okay, so they have access to white again. I assume is what they're getting here. I'm wrong. They get some mana. Is that a brainstorm? That's a brainstorm. A new Teferi. They're going to go ahead and minus on that token. And just force me to chump block with this Urza Saga to kind of protect my life total, I assume. I've left this Urza Saga / Thespian stage untapped, by the way. My opponent would have lost to Marit Lage if I had left it up. I've just tapped Yapamaya, for example. Sure. Alright, I guess they wouldn't have lost to it immediately. I already used Soul Guide Lantern. I think my opponent's sequencing is getting sloppy, but like they're on the clock. So they attack in. I make a token. I die to Dress Down. They don't have it. I live to see another day. We'll see if my opponent wastelands this Urza Saga that's at stage 2. No, they go for the Thespian stage, which is great information for me because now I know that like a Marit Lage is a bit of a problem for them. I'm fine with dredging. Surgical extraction on Wasteland. Sure. I guess they're trying to wiggle to a point where they can have a white source that remains in play. Surgical extraction on Thespian stage. That's slightly more annoying. So, I make a token. I do my searching. Caracas is really good here. Just put Expedition Map in play. Yeah, I think I like that. Take a turn off from Urza Saga nonsense. Just have this handy. I'll play this. I'll drop a Tabernacle as well. I'm going to make my opponent pay for this in their upkeep. And then I will bounce it before they get any additional value off of it. Alright, it's gone. I don't know how many copies of Minsc Boo my opponent has. That's a thing that matters. No white mana currently. Pay for my critter. 1 artifact as of right now. Saga. Grove. ETH, that's not particularly good. Let's drop Saga. Drop Grove. I have random Snapcaster Mage flash in to think about, but I should probably poke this. But I guess poking it doesn't matter that much. If my opponent plays Minsc Boo, they get 2 creatures. They can sacrifice either one to kill me. Yeah, I guess let's not die to a random Snapcaster Mage. Plus, keeping the Uro around is a couple extra seconds off the clock for other purposes. Alright. I will Caracas bounce the Uro back to your hand then. Lose Caracas. Opponent can do the whole Uro song and dance again. They have a lightning bolt. I guess that's a thing that could beat me. There's another Uro. Alright, they have another fetch land, so they have access to white again. I pay for my critter. I will dredge. Caracas, Saga, some other land. Alright, they're in play. I'll drop Saga. I'll drop Caracas. Go ahead and attack Teferi here. And make a critter. Teferi goes down to 1. Brainstorm's fine. And my opponent times themselves out, despite the fact that I conceded one of those games early. Folks, put enough win conditions in your deck. Play stable mana. I don't like what my opponent was doing over there. Like, I did not have a lot going on for a huge portion of these games, but my opponent could not finish the game. Ugh. Yeah, I have a reasonable mix of lands and lands here, so I'll keep this hand. Okay. Don't moon me on turn 1, please. Chalice on 1 has minimal impact on me. Fuck. Winning the die roll is really good, folks. Fuck. So I need to play this one before I get Blood Mooned, so that I always have access to basic forest. Don't do it. Oh, that's fine. That hardly counts as a win condition. I was just very afraid of them just going and just dropping an initiative creature. That would be incredibly difficult for me to beat. We will be taking out City of Traders here. I just need to keep my opponent from playing an actual win condition. Like, this is not, in my opinion, a strong enough follow-up to a pair of chalices for that hand. Fuck me, to be keepable. They are going to net 1 damage a turn. Alright, let's find a life from the Loam, take out that Den of the Bugbear, and be in a great position moving forward. Punishing Fire is actively great. How much toughness is this? This is 2 toughness. That's annoying. It's going to let my opponent loot through whatever bad cards they have in their hand. I believe I am punishing firing that instead of a spirit token. We'll maze 1. I am just going to do this now because I'm not expecting another play from my opponent. Take that out. Endurance is quite actively good. That gives me a real blocker here. Go ahead and play the Blast Zone. Mountain and Spirit Guide. Blood Moon is annoying. Beatable, but annoying. I now need to main phase this. The Urza Saga is not a playable land. I'll play a Dark Depths, which enters with no counters. I think I am on the defensive here. And I would like to draw a Life from the Loam or a Boseiju. The plan is to Boseiju Blood Moon, make a 20/20, and kill my opponent in one shot. I am afraid of an initiative creature. That's pretty bad as well. Alright, I'll take 2 damage. So that's what I wanted actively. But it's just too late, right? So my opponent copies this. I take 14 damage. Yep. We lost the die roll and then lost this one. I think my opponent should have mulliganed their hand. I don't think their hand was a keep. Like, it won them this game, but I've said this so many times on this channel. Like, Chalice into no follow-up play is not keepable, and I don't consider Sokenzen a follow-up play. So I don't actually have that many cards that the Chalices heavily impact. It just so happens that, like, that game, they got me good. I'll be thinking about Minsc Boo, an extra body. I probably want a Haywire Might as a tutor target, and I'll think about some number of Force of Vigor. Soul Guide Lantern isn't great. Pithing Needle is of limited utility. I will probably drop that. I can probably drop a land or two here. I want to hedge against Chalice on 1. I can do something like this. This isn't at its best here. It's double green pips. Am I over sideboarding with this extra endurance? Maybe I'm over sideboarding with the extra endurance. And I could drop 1 more land, like drop the Karakas or something. But, like, it's possible the Moonstompy decks play legendary creatures like Lilia, but it's somewhat uncommon. So this hand is fully, does my opponent board in Leyline and do they play it? I think I am supposed to keep it. Okay, no Leyline. In that case, this hand is going to be quite strong. Discard a Wasteland, play a Wasteland, and get Life from the Loam going on turn 1. Alright, what nonsense am I going to have to deal with? Blood Moon. Not bad. Means that I don't get to Wasteland my opponent into oblivion. I think I would like to do this, float a mana, crop rotation, sacrifice a Wasteland. I'll grab a Forest, play a Wasteland, and draw 3 cards. Next turn, I can cast an Endurance to hold off whatever creature my opponent plays out. Well, a lot of them. Yeah, so I can do an Endurance mid-combat. Urza Saga not at its best here. I am going to just plan on flashing in Endurance in this turn cycle, as to not give my opponent a bunch of extra treasures. This is unfortunately pretty telegraphed. I feel like there's worlds where my opponent doesn't attack, because, like, Endurance and Force of Vigor are the 2 things that I reasonably could be holding up right now. Alright, they're going in. They have Cavern of Souls in their build, notably. We'll send those cards back into your deck. Take out this creature. We'll see if I end up just losing this to a Fury or something post-combat. There's another Fable. So we're just going to continue dredging. We're mostly looking to find Boseiju here. I'll go ahead and do a draw 3. Make a land drop. It basically doesn't matter what land I play as long as it's not Urza Saga. And I think I'll leave this one in hand. I think I'm on the defensive here. And note that I like the 3 looks at Boseiju off Life from the Loam per turn cycle. They are playing Leylines. More than I like trying to randomly spike a Minsc Boo off a single draw. Well, I guess I can also hit Force of Vigor. Oh, they want that treasure token. I mean, I'm always going to block. I think they're going to cast a Fury. So, like, I will lose the Endurance anyway. I see they want another black for a Leyline. So that changes things. Now I need draws. That's annoying. We don't have access to green anymore. The Life from the Loam dredging doesn't make sense. I drew Force of Vigor. I will have to pitch cast that, but that's okay. Wish I had a Dark Depths, but I don't. Force of Vigor, pitching Life from the Loam, getting rid of Leyline and Blood Moon. Costs 2 mana. I float a red. This becomes a land. I'll Punishing Fire this. Regardless, the attack is fine. I'm thinking about whether or not I just double Wasteland my opponent here. I think I do. Target Blood Moon, Leyline. Or sorry, I am going to need to float a red. Target Blood Moon, Leyline. Exile this Life from the Loam. You gain a life. I Punishing Fire. Reflection of Kiki-Jiki now. I'm going to get rid of Den of the Bugbear for sure. I think I get rid of Ancient Tomb as the follow-up. Just make it less likely that another Blood Moon comes down. Alright, and my opponent has conceded that one. Alright, good stuff. The game where I'm on the play becomes a little bit weirder. Sorry, where they're on the play becomes a little bit weirder. It's like my Mox Diamonds and Explorations are a touch less reliable. I think I like this extra body when I'm on the draw over one drop. With Urza Saga, if Urza Saga even happens, because, you know, it doesn't a good portion of the time. I think I keep it in the deck, because it's very good when it does work. I don't know, maybe Expedition maps are important to find both Seiju. This is castable colorless stuff. I'll buy that. Maybe I go down in Urza Saga to help make that happen. Down one random 1-drop. Yeah, this hand is quite good. A little annoying if my opponent has turn 1 Null Rod specifically. Alright, understood. Okay, I'm happy that's on 1 and not 0 with this hand. So I would love to draw a green card that is not Life from the Loam here. I think I'm going to take a turn to try to spike 1. I failed, but I have a very fast Dark Depths combo. Play this because of Blood Moon, I think. I don't know, like, if I don't eat a Chalice on 0, I just, like, Mox Diamond, discarding this and this, play Dark Depths, make my thing. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Life from the Loam doesn't matter anymore. I'm thinking about whether I play the Mox Diamonds now. I think the answer is no. Alright, so do I Force of Vigor these? I think no, right? It just doesn't matter. Yeah, that's not what this game is about. Alright. Mox Diamond. Discard a Foothills. Mox Diamond. Discard a Taiga. Dark Depths. Pass. Yeah. Anyway, that was a lesson in why you don't keep Chalice of the Void hands that don't have a follow-up. Hey folks, my donation queue is currently very small, so if you are looking to get one of your decks on the channel, it will happen very quickly. All the information for how to do that is in the video description down below. Click the link to my website, and if you want to support the channel but you don't have a list yourself, that's what the Dealer's Choice donation deck list is for. I have a folder full of really cool deck lists set aside for whenever I get one of those. Alright, back to the magic. Alright, I am fine keeping this opening hand here. I have a decent mixture of ability to play an Urza Saga game versus a combo game. Man, I don't want that crop rotation. I think I'm playing this as my land. I think I just always want a green land played out here. I have to make my decision prior to playing the Mox Diamond because of days. And if my Mox Diamond were to get Spell Pierced there, the Urza Saga game becomes very bad. So I'm playing out this first turn cycle in a way that plays around days. I have a crop rotation for if I get Wastelanded. I don't have a second. Fuck. Abort, abort, abort. Is not where I thought we were going. I have a crop rotation for a Bojuka Bog, if that ends up being relevant. Rite of Flame. Galvanic Relay. Okay, so I know what's available over there. Do I have any further disruptive lands that I can get? I don't have time for Blast Zone Caracas. I do have time for Wasteland. Like, I can go to my turn, play Dark Depths, tap 2 mana, use 1, get Thespian Stage, go. The issue is that my opponent has 1, 4, 7, 10, 13. They have 11 mana after a Burning Wish, which means Peer into the Abyss does stuff. So that's probably not going to reasonably work. I'm going to take a draw step and see what I draw. That's not the best. All right. I don't think this is enough, but this can at least limit my opponent colors a bit. I still think this just beats me. Because they just, like, still probably just go land Dark Ritual, do the thing. Alright. It begins. Alright, there's another Mox Opal, so now they have access to the Dark Ritual. So there's 6 mana. Each one of the Lion's Eye Diamonds is +3. I fully expect that I am dead. We're not on the Sphere of Resistance build, so life is fucking grim for beating this deck. Alright, that's Burning Wish, 8 mana floating. Yeah, there's a Peer into the Abyss. I don't know, maybe my opponent gets sloppy and does a graveyard-based line with a Past in Flames or something, and I get to steal a win. I'm not even going to mess with that. Like, my opponent has half their library in their hand. I've got to pick a spot very carefully if I expect this crop rotation to actually accomplish anything, which I don't. Like, I don't think we're going to stop a Past in Flames or an Echo or whatever. Alright, with a Storm count of 18, my opponent casts a Burning Wish and has found Tendrils. They have the black to cast it. I will concede. Yeah, so looking at the sideboard here, as you can see, everything is awful. Like, Force of Vigor does stuff, Collector Oof does stuff. I might board in Minsc Boo just as like something to reduce my opponent's life total faster. Endurance doesn't do a lot. I don't think Surgical does enough. I don't think Cage does enough. I'll take a Haywire Mite, maybe. Get rid of this. Get rid of these. I think I'm going to keep Endurances literally as green cards for Force of Vigor. I don't think this does relevant stuff very much of the time, and I think I'll just cut a land of some kind. Maybe a Caracas here. Yeah, my opponent's combo kill is just faster than mine in almost every case. All right. Land, exploration, land, life from the Loam. It's not interactive, which is what I want. It's also not a guaranteed turn 2 Marit Lage. This is an amazing hand for this deck, but I don't think this is capable in this matchup. I'm going to mulligan this. This is a better hand, right? So land, exploration, forest, leave up crop rotation. Turn 2, play both of these. This is much better. This is exactly what I want to do. I will get rid of Urza's Saga. It's relatively slow here. All right, so do it just like I talked about. And then pass the turn. All right. Thoughtseize is fine. Just going to let that resolve. What I got. Alright, cool. The last card wasn't an Echo to randomly punish me for keeping both of these in hand. Well, I guess that draw. No, I wanted to keep the crop rotation up. That's fine. And I think I do just go for the kill next turn rather than wasteland them. Alright. Sure. Not cracking the LED. Alright, so they are going for Echo of Eons. So we'll see if they can kill me with a random 7. Thoughtseize is fine. Alright, they cannot kill me with a random 7. Game on the draw is obviously much harder. On the draw, I could Desperation, board Pyroblasts and Red Elemental Blasts, or Burning Wish lines for Echo of Eons. I don't think I want to do that. I have no initial green mana here. This one's an auto mulligan. I probably keep this, pitching one of the colorless cards here. This technically has turn 0 interaction here. I like lose something, yeah, to a Thoughtseize a decent portion of the time. Oh, I lost the Exploration over the Force of Vigor. That's slightly surprising to me, because if I draw another green card, this is live again. I think Stage. That way, if I draw a Yavimaya on my turn, I can play Yavimaya, search up Dark Depths, and then have the combo the following turn. Alright, so they've got a fetch to clear that Brainstorm. It's the wrong side of that. It's kind of awkward for me. Gonna go Windswept Heath and pass here. I think there's a decent portion of the time where I just end up getting a Wasteland. Alright, they've seen my Grove of the Burn Willows, which they've already seen. Alright, more cantrips. I'm definitely afraid. Alright, you got 4 cards, you have another land drop. Am I dead? Not dead. Let's go ahead and fetch. Taiga should be fine. Go ahead and crack this map. I do think I pick up Wasteland. I don't always Wasteland, but I think I always want to have the possibility of Wastelanding this Underground Sea. Because my opponent couldn't go off on these 2 mana sources on their turn. I don't exactly want to drag this game on, but here we are. Alright, this bodes well for me. No land drop for my opponent, so I am gaining a little bit of ground here. I'm gaining a lot of fucking ground here. Alright. Cast a Life from the Loam. Wasteland. It's my intention to take them off of Badlands. Badlands represents both rituals as well as Thoughtseize. Yeah, baubles are fine. I will continue to attack their lands here and try to make them make them win off only artifact mana through my Force of Vigor, which can break off Metalcraft. Alright, they've seen Grove again. Let's take out Taiga. And we're hoping that I create a window here in which I can actually Dark Depths combo my opponent. Alright, cool. No dredge. I am fine. Playing the depths, I think. There's some niche lines where this is awkward because I won't have access to hard casting this next turn. And like that can matter against a Thoughtseize. Yes. Yes. Adnause is spooky. Alright, my opponent has Adnaused down to 5 and has stopped. So there is a Lotus Petal. There is the second Lotus Petal. If I cast a Force of Vigor right now, I can deny mana from this Mox Opal, force a Lotus Petal, sack, add 1 to the Storm Count. Adding one to the Storm Count shouldn't be relevant. My opponent just had like Opal, 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 Burning Wish Tendrils. So this is my moment to cast this Force of Vigor. Again, not a super strong Force of Vigor, unfortunately. Then my opponent gets to bobble, play a new Opal. And I haven't mapped it out here, but I assume that I am dead to Tendrils. Yeah, second Opal, Ritual, 8, 9 mana, down to 7 Tendrils. Yeah. We put up a hell of a fight here, but I didn't draw something like a Collector Oof to actually slam the door on the game. I could have gone for an earlier combo kill rather than disrupting my opponent, but I don't know like where my opponent's bottleneck was. I think I played it correctly, and it just did not work out, and that's okay. I will concede here. GG's. Alright, I've kept my opening hand here. We have turn 1 Life from the Loam options. And it looks like we're playing against a Death Shadow deck. Fuck! We're dead. We're dead. GG. Well played. So I'm losing Mox Diamond, so I don't have a green source anymore. Which is a huge fucking deal. I do not understand what is taking so long. Like, it is very, very, very easily the Mock Diamond here. Like, my hand does not function without it. Holy fuck. Play Wasteland. Cast Mox Diamond. I think I discard this Dark Depths. I'm going to go for the immediate Life from the Loam. Like, make them have the Force of Negation absolutely right now. I had another mana-producing land. I think I would have Wastelanded that turn. And that was a shuffle off of that Ponder, FYI. I will Dredge. Forest is unexciting, but fine. I unfortunately do just need another actual mana source before I feel safe just using this Wasteland. Let's dump this into play. I am fine with an Expedition map getting countered. I do not need it. Oh, that's it? Cool. I think I'll just take a draw this turn. Thespian Stage. Not bad. I'll wasteland my opponent during their upkeep, probably. Like, I do have to respect Stifle as a thing that their deck can do. Alright, they're at 12. Orcish Bowmasters is fine. I get pinged. I can Thespian Stage, copy Wasteland, and then Wasteland my opponent. Or I can just Punishing Fire a Bowmasters or an Orc token out of play. I think I'm just going to Wasteland them, and I'll leave up my other options for now. Sure. I think I'm willing to take 2 here. Let's attempt this. I think it is worth attempting. Dead Death Shadow with a Punishing Fire. That does not happen often. I will just dredge this here. I don't think I have to be in a hurry to win. So let's Life from the Loam, Wasteland, Wasteland this, and then I can do Dark Depths combo next turn, hopefully while my opponent has no mana. Yeah, so you remember on turn 1 when my opponent didn't take Mox Diamond? And then I got to win the game. That was really cool for me. Okay. So I don't mind an Endurance to help fight against Murktide and brick some Orcish Bowmaster beats if my opponent even leaves that in the deck versus me. I don't think it's particularly strong. Pyroblasts and Red Elemental Blasts are okay, but not much better than that. I'm not excited about this versus my opponent's pile O creatures. I'm not super excited about Crop Rotation versus Counterspells. I'm not super excited against Punishing Fire most of the time, honestly. Like, it's gonna miss Murktide and Death Shadow and the Troll and Street Wraith. I'd probably board that out. Hit Strix if my opponent is playing that. How many of these am I supposed to play? I think I'm going to leave literally all of my lands. Maybe I get rid of Soul Guide, Lantern, and then don't play all of these. Minsc Boo is a little bit interesting. I don't think I'm into that on the draw. I might be into that on the play, where like my opponent just does a bunch of damage to themselves and then just whoop, hamster. This is a very average opening hand. I'm going to keep it. It's like very reasonable as long as my opponent doesn't play a random turn 1 threat. You know, something like a Delver of Secrets or something. I guess Fetch Land Pass is a little awkward for me. Good, it's not happening. Thoughtseize. Thoughtseize. So, only one option there, obviously. And my turn pilots itself. Just 100% of the time I'm going to be attacking that Watery Grave, as well as the next land that my opponent plays. This is just kind of counting on the inevitability of my own deck. That's a shock to 13. Crop Rotation is cool. I'll Wasteland my opponent during their upkeep. Like, if I get a Stifle out of that, cool. Alright, you can resolve your Brainstorm, and then I will Wasteland that Watery Grave. 2 lands down. Cycle a Street Wraith. And pass the turn. That's no good. Start on a Yavimaya since I have 2 of them. Alright, they're just passing the turn. I can start an Urza Saga game now. Yeah, that's great. I'll Urza Saga. I'll Exploration. I'll play Windswept Heath. I don't need to preemptively fetch because Yavimaya is in play. Alright, yeah. Sounds good. Opponent has discarded a Murktide. And we're just playing good, clean, honest Magic here. Alright, you're done? You're done. Yeah, that's fair. GG's. Alright, I've kept a little bit of an awkward opening hand in the final round here, in that... Oh, interesting. I'm missing some stuff for this hand to just fully pop off. I have to respect Dark Ritual Opposition Agent here, which I think means giving my opponent a life off Grove of the Burn Willows, as weird as that is. Then I'll play Windswept Heath, not fetch. Huh. I held up Crop Rotation. It comes at the cost of easy Dark Depths Thespian stage combo. It's super awkward for me. I'm going to play out both of these and pass the turn, I think. I am not sure that I am supposed to actually fetch with Windswept Heath. This gives me an opportunity to fetch. Basic Forest, I think. Alright, so I get pinged to 18 here. My current plan is to cast a mid-combat Endurance. Grief Pitching Sheoldred. The big thing that I want to do is not die to an Edict, and Endurance helps me with that. I didn't give my opponent an opportunity to make a mistake in stacking their triggers. I'm supposed to stack that in a way where if they mess up and they put the Evoke trigger on top, I get to exile the Grief from the graveyard. I did not give them the opportunity to make that mistake. Alright, cool. Good stuff. Crop Rotation is fine. If I attack and my opponent has another Bowmasters, it's awkward, right? I lose my Edict protection. I think I'll just pass the turn here. I guess there's like Sheoldred's Edict versus Sudden Edict as well. Okay, I think I need to use this Crop Rotation here. So I will Thespian stage my Dark Depths, keep the one with no ice counters, make a Marit Lage, cast a Crop Rotation, sacrificing a Wasteland. I can get Bojukabog to stop Grief, or I can get an Urza Saga. I'm gonna stop Grief. Stopping Grief lets me now Pithing Needle, something like Helm of Obedience. Maze of Ith is pretty cool. Let's play that. Attack with both of my creatures. Hit my opponent for 20, going down to 2. Then Pithing Needle. Naming Helm. I was going to untap my Marit Lage. I forgot to do that. It probably is not a decision that matters. Yeah. There's a lot of things that I don't know right now about my opponent's deck list. I don't know whether they're playing the new troll or not. I don't know whether or not they're on Helm combo. They probably will be on Helm combo for post-sideboard game, but I didn't see it in game 1. And that changes the evaluation of my cards quite a bit. I think I am always going to play these cards as outs to Leyline. I'm going to board this out. Like, sorry friend, you haven't done anything in this league. I think I'm into Endurances just to gum up the board. I am unsure on the value of Pithing Needle before I confirm whether or not my opponent is on Helm. Same with Collector Oof. Guide Lantern has some text. I am going to pull it as I'm going to have trouble with my exact cuts here. Tabernacle is nice versus exactly Orcish Bowmasters. Otherwise, it's pretty medium minus. I'm probably going to get rid of that. Crop rotation is a little worse versus Orcish Bowmasters, but my opponent is playing a lot of tap-out cards. I'm going to get rid of one Expedition map in respect of Opposition Agent, and to a lesser extent, Karn. One crop rotation. When I'm on the play, I'll think about Minsc Boo, and I'll also think about Collector Oof, depending on what all I see this game. This is lands and spells. I don't know that I'm actually excited about this. Like, can Force of Vigor a Leyline out of play and play reasonable Magic, but like, I don't get to 3 mana for Endurance. I don't have combo potential. I don't have a Life from the Loam. This hand feels like it's good against Leyline and pretty mediocre against a lot of other things. Maybe I still just keep it because I have, 35 lands to hit. Maybe I just keep it and hedge against Leyline. Daggers. Alright, we'll see what happens here. I may end up Force of Vigoring Chrome Mox plus one other card. World Gorger Dragon? Okay. I was not expecting that. Also was not expecting this. Okay. Sure. My opponent is just going to essentially plus to draw a card. Yeah, they paid 3 life for a land. I'm good with that. I'm going to fetch while the fetchin' is good. Taiga should be fine. Drop an exploration. Play a Thespian stage. I don't know that I need to actually play Mox Diamond yet. Actually, I don't want that to get Thoughtseize because that's my second green pip for these endurances. I will do that now. Alright, running it back. So they just get a Lotus Petal for free. What's the ultimate on this? 13 damage. Reasonable. Grief is fine. Alright, I have lost an endurance. Urza Saga is reasonable. I've got a mid-combat endurance that can start pressuring this Sorin. Alright, I guess I don't have to do it mid-combat because I can't block Grief anyway. Sure. Free Chrome Mox. I'll eat some damage from Grief. So I could just exile these lands from my graveyard to stop them from getting that. Which is probably what I should do here. So there's my pseudo counter spell. Draw life from the Loam with perfect timing. We will Dome Sorin, because I die if I don't. This is a little bit of an awkward turn cycle. But did I board out that Pithing Needle? No, good. All I need to do is survive Sorin for this turn, and then I Pithing Needle it. Finding Animate Dead with no creatures in the bin, that is not a problem. I'm at 13. Actually, this is just another way to deal with Sorin. I think I am going to try to deal with Sorin via combat instead of Pithing Needling it. Okay, I mean, Opposition Agent sucks for me. I can Force a Vigor pitching life from the Loam, actually. I will play Dark Depths. Still think I pressure the Planeswalker. Like, my opponent is at 12 from taking damage off of it, though, so, like, that's a thing. Sorin pluses. Brings them to 8, finding a Sholdred. I don't know whether or not I need to Force a Vigor right now. Like if I Force a Vigor this Chrome Mox right now, does Sholdred get stuck in my opponent's hand and they don't get another thing to block? I don't think I'm supposed to Force a Vigor now. I'm going to double block the Grief. Maybe the Opposition Agent is just more important. Yeah. Yeah, let's try to take out Opposition Agent. Take 3. Go to 10. Okay. There is Sholdred. Okay, they had all the mana in the world. Pithing Needle resolves. Animate Dead on Opposition Agent. Sure. I might need to do this now, depending on what I draw. Let's do Pithing Needle and Animate Dead. Pitch this life from the Loam. Cause that to sacrifice. That's an insane draw. That's very, very good. That puts me to 8. I will Caracas. Bounce Shouldered. This gives me 5 damage. If I want it, I'm not sure that I want it. I think I am going to send 3 damage at Sorin to kill Sorin. And hold this back so I can double block Grief. And I think I will just copy this now. And make my 20/20. It is a new Sorin, so they can minus to make a blocker for Marit Lage. Life from Loam is incredibly good here. I attack them with everything. They could go to 1. They do have to block. Is this plus optional? No. Or sorry, it is. It is a May. Go ahead and send these at my opponent's face. All right, this puts my opponent to 1, so Ancient Tomb is off. Oh, shit, I forgot the lifelink. Stage. I mean, I'm going to take all of these back and leave Caracas untapped. I will just get another Urza Saga going. Yeah, I didn't account for the lifelink here. Okay, sure. Yeah, like after accounting for the lifelink, I should have just attacked Sorin last turn. I don't need to life from the Loam here. I'll just take a regular draw. All right. There's Stage and Depths. This is a lethal attack, which requires a block. Opposition Agent. I'll kill the Opposition Agent so my opponent doesn't get to search off my stuff. Actually, that shouldn't matter. I'm going to kill the lifelinker. I've already made my land drops. I'll call it a turn here. And my opponent has conceded, giving us a 4-1 result in this league. So how do I feel at the end of this video? It was a little bit of a slog to play, but the deck felt very good. But ultimately, I feel like I won many games because of the mistakes that my opponent made, not because of the raw power of my deck. Like, I think there were 3 games where I just, like, identified a, like, fatal error that my opponents had made. And, like, because they made that, I got to win the game when I would have lost versus a better player. And, like, you know, a 4-1 and 80% league is good. I'm happy with that. But I don't walk away from this deck going like, damn, this deck feels good. I'm going to sleeve this up for the PTQ this weekend, you know? So I don't think this list was bad. Like, the list as a whole gets a thumbs up to me. It felt quite good. It felt quite powerful. I don't know that I want to play this build if combo is popular, but if you are not expecting combo, I don't think you need the Sphere of Resistances. For league play, there is a decent amount of combo, so like that's something to keep in mind. I think I would like this better for like a Legacy Challenge or a Showcase or something than I would for traditional league play. But at the end of the day, this was very much a league where I got to showcase like my knowledge of Legacy, and the decisions that I made mattered. I got punished for making the wrong ones a couple of times, or sometimes I made the right one and it didn't like pan out because my opponent had X, Y, or Z. But generally speaking, I like the things that I had at my disposal today, and I hope you enjoyed watching the league. If you end up needing to buy any of these cards for Paper Magic, check out Cool Stuff Inc. and use promo code ThrabenU to save 5% on your order, and I hope you have a great rest of the day. See ya!